Good evening, everyone. I will now call this meeting of the Derry School Board to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will start with the roll call. If everyone could introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Joe Crawford, Assistant Superintendent.
Jane Simard, Business Administrator.
Michael Flynn, Superintendent.
Brenda Willis, School Board.
Michael Thiel, School Board Chair.
Jen Thoreau, School Board Vice Chair.
Jenna Paradise, School Board Secretary.
Jamie Carew, School Board.
Karen Rand, School Board.
Jason McLeod, School Board.
Thank you, everybody. Our first order of business will be the consent agenda. For tonight, we have the public meeting minutes of November 24th, 2025. The manifest in the amount of $3,597,036.18, of which $2,850,278.19 is general payroll, and $746,757.99 is general expense. And the following nomination: Christina Tetrol, Special Education Teacher, Derry Early Education Program. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
First by Jenna, second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Our second order of business will be a public hearing as called for in RSA 198, Section 4B, relative to the withdrawal from the contingency fund for expenses related to the relocation of the district offices to the Derry Village School. I will take a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
First by Jenna. Second by Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. I will turn it over to Mr. Flynn, who will be presenting the proposal.
Thank you, Michael. I just wanted to kind of start back in the beginning. That's not the keyboard for here, sorry. Remembering and kind of refreshing everyone's memory that back in August 26th, when you approved your school board goals, one of your goals was the Derry Village School itself. The school board shall create an advisory committee made up of board members, district staff, and community members, and task it with exploring all options for the Derry Village School property, building, and its contents, and making a recommendation to the school board. In one of our previous board member meetings, the Derry Village School Committee made a recommendation to relocate the SAU offices to the Derry Village School, in which you all approved unanimously for that recommendation. So in regards to funding that move, we came up with a proposal to withdraw funds from the contingency fund. So for those who may not be aware of the contingency fund, or what Jane had called before the retained fund, it used to be called the Emergency Authorization Fund, I want to say over 7 years ago, and there were some strict rules and regulations in regards to accessing those funds, and then the state and legislature made a lot of changes to allow opportunities for school boards to access those funds for unintended budgetary purposes. So that's what we are here this evening for. So currently our contingency balance is $2,110,000. In doing some work with Jane, it's evident that Derry has never pulled from contingency funds. Is that correct? So this would be a new practice for this board itself in understanding the purpose behind it. So we're requesting authorization to withdraw up to $400,000, no more than, for what the DVS committee had came to a conclusion on. So what the DVS committee did, it did a lot of work from September, October until the recommendation was made in November. We did walkthroughs of all the buildings. We did some engineering, structural, mechanical assessments, cost estimates for renovations and repairs and code compliance, as well as long-term capital planning. And that's really the goal or the crux of this issue is we have an empty facility, DVS, and we have a failing SAU building. So through the committee work on the DVS committee, we pretty clearly came to a conclusion after all of our work through the market analysis and things along that lines that the best proposal was to move forward with the relocations of the offices. So if we do not, if we leave DVS unoccupied, annual costs are continuing. We're paying for that building to sit there empty. So we pay for utilities, system repairs. You have to continue with your required safety inspections. We've had some preventative maintenance in regards to some things that have been occurring. We've also had to deal with some vandalism a couple times in regards to fixing those costs. So with that, to give you an idea, we right now are paying $133,000 a year to have nothing but essentially storage units. That's what it takes to keep it alive, keep it from frozen pipes, and things along those lines. So 5-year estimate, $600,000 to $1 million to leave it unoccupied and untouched. So in regards to the return on investments and what we're doing best in regards to the books, having a property sitting there unoccupied is not in the best interest of the taxpayer. This is the one that became a topic of discussion on the DVS committee is the SAU building. It became pretty evident in my short time here that when you all were in the bond process that the SAU got put down immediately to the bottom, right? First thing cut. And in that report at that time, it was $576,000 just to bring it back up to par. That included HVAC, roofing, electrical systems, so forth. Since that time, since 2022 was that Jobin report, we've received essentially an estimate of over $700,000 to take that report and bring it up to par. Since that report, there has been new issues that have arose, foundational issues requiring structural remediation. That means the building would have to be put on stilts and the foundation would have to be fixed, along with the portal replacements are sinking in the back, so there will have to do some replacements on that. So this is where, after we reviewed potential sales of the properties, whether it was DVS or the SAU, both, all of the things, the challenge was, are you going to invest money in the current SAU building when you have a facility up the road that's sitting unoccupied? So the true cost of what we need to do to bring the SAU up to speed and or feasible for the next 20 years, and I like what Jason has said several times, that this recommendation on the DVS is a permanent solution, right? That's the goal. It's not a temporary. This is the long-term solution. And should we invest that money into a building that's failing, or should you invest it into a property that we know is valuable to us for the long run? So if we stay in the SAU, no revenue generated, continue to sink money into a property that needs a lot of work, and losing resale. So on this part, just to clearly communicate the reason why the DVS committee came to this conclusion, this is the 2001 portion of the building. So as we kept saying on the committee, the goal is to put the adults in this building, right? So there's been some communication recently about reopening the entire school. That's not accurate. The only part that's going to be reopened is the part that's highlighted here, the center part of the school. The previous discussions, again, it's hard for me. I wasn't here. I wasn't in the rooms. I wasn't a part of all of those decisions. But more importantly is, we're not reopening a school for 750 kids. We're not reopening a school for 750 kids plus staff. We are opening a portion of a building to relocate the offices to get another office off the books so that we're not continuing to pay for an unoccupied facility. This multi-purpose room, the wall was going to, and part of this $400,000, that wall will be removed, and we're going to create a leasable space, a rentable space to generate, not high-end revenue, but it'll be revenue. Specifically, that was at the DVS committee as well. We discussed the sports zone closing and the need for more opportunity for community members to use it, so that was part of that plan as well. So using up to $400,000 from the contingency, you can see where our balance is, but at the end, the advantage is we're using the funds that are there. We're not going to, it's of no impact to the taxpayer. So that money is always already raised and appropriated, and it's specifically articulated in the RSA that this is an opportunity to use it. It avoids the continual minimum cost of $133,000 to leave the building unoccupied, prevents the district from sinking money into a facility that we know we can sell and remove from the books, And then that's really the purpose down the bottom is once you sell the SAU, those funds that you gain from that sale go back into contingency at the end of the following year. So it goes in as unanticipated revenue, and that point, at the end of the year, the board can make a decision to replace it and move it back into contingency. So the goal is obviously net zero is the goal. It depends on the sale. Now, that sale, two things. One, will go on as a warrant article for the community to vote on to allow the board to enter into those agreements. And then once we decide to post, we had recommendations from our attorneys to essentially do a bid process in which the board can review all those and then make a decision on who to sell to. So those would be those next steps. So that's the purpose, where we started in August and where we are here in December. So any questions from the board?
All right, thank you, Mike. So now we will open it up to public comment. If you'd like to speak on the use of contingency funds, please approach the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If you're interested in speaking on another issue, we will still hold the regular comment period later in the meeting, so please hold those comments for now.
Tracy Zisk, 5 Silver Street. Jane, I think this question's more for you. I have a question on the $133,000 a year. Meeting after meeting, it was stated it would be $60,000 a year, and at one point it actually went down to $20,000, but you had stated it would be $60,000 if we did not remove the insurance, because we couldn't take down the insurance. When did the $73,000 a year difference come into play?
I think I'm on. Is it on?
It's whatever.
Okay, it really is a difference of the utility. So 133 is what the actual costs were last year to keep the building open. And it just, surprisingly, the amount of the usage, not usage, but the expense for natural gas and electricity, the rates are just higher than we anticipated, and the cost to keep the building, like Mike said, from pipes freezing and all that, was just higher than we anticipated. But that was the actual cost.
That was the actual cost?
Yes,
okay,
that's
because
what we
when it
spent.
was presented to us, it was presented at $60,000, but that was based on an estimate.
Yes.
So it was off by $73,000. That's a big difference. And that's with an empty building. So what do you expect all the utility costs to go up when you now have an occupied building?
So I can't give you a hard answer. Is mine on? Sorry, Richard. I can't give you a hard answer on what it is. The work that we did at the DVS committee is the money that we're paying for utilities at the SAU building would then be absorbed into the relocation of the office.
Move the funds over?
Yep.
Okay. And have you obtained anything from the building inspector or the Board of Health saying that the SAU building is unoccupiable, unusable?
It's never been said unoccupiable or unusable. It's the work that needs to be done to bring it back up to from where it being failing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, today, you don't need to be evacuated?
Nope, not at all.
So this, if needed to hold on, could hold on? Meaning you don't have to have...
No, as of right today, no.
No,
but
you're not being walked out the door?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but the work at the committee level, that's a great question, is are we going to put the money into what the Jobin report had said 3-4 years ago? Right. Or are you going to transfer that to get that off the books and invest whatever may need to be in the capital project forward at DVS?
And with the $400,000 that you're requesting, as our facilities manager has stated over and over, you really don't know until you open up the walls and you move things around what the true intent and true costs are. Where would that additional funding come, because you're assuming it's going to be $400,000?
We're not assuming. That was given to us on the committee through when we were doing our information research on it. You're making a good point, but the part that we're occupying, I can't go backwards. If you could hit the backwards button, I don't have the keyboard. The orange, is there a keyboard up there? Hit the down arrow. Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Nope, go back the other way. You did great. All right. Right there, we're doing no wall tearing down, nothing.
So it's more of a cube environment?
Correct.
More
Yep.
okay.
So those classrooms, if you can see, will be turned into cubes as well. So we're only going to be inserting new walls. We're not, the concern that you have is not happening in this part of the building. We are not tearing anything down.
Okay. So when we spent all this money and we had all these consultants in here telling us, and the reports speak for themselves, Derry Village was the most decrepit. It was unsafe for children to be in there. But now if you're going to move the superintendent in there, that's a public building. How is it safe for the general public to walk in there?
Yeah, that was part of the DVS committee work. We wanted to make sure that the adults would fit in this part, and in the 2001 section, there was no concerns in regards to those evaluations for us to move in there. Once you start going into the wings, that's a different discussion.
The outsides. Okay. So just to make it clear, at this point, your existing building isn't decrepit. The Board of Health and the building inspector have not come out and deemed it unsafe.
It is not decrepit, but it needs between $700,000 and $1 million worth of work, yes.
And the funds are for unexpected emergencies.
Nope, emergency's no longer in that RSA. That's what it used to be. Yep.
So the funds are open-ended to be used for anything? Like, what's
I'm going to read the language for you, too, sorry.
Yeah, if you could.
The exact wording is unanticipated expenses.
Yep.
I'm sorry?
The exact wording is unanticipated expenses.
So how can it be unanticipated if we've known for over 8 years the building, we voted to close that building 8 years ago, so it's been falling apart. Every single year, every single board talks about how that building is falling apart. It even, Mary Ann got up and did a presentation when she was still superintendent. So this isn't unexpected. It's been happening.
The unexpected part is the moving of the SAU offices there. We think that that is the best use of that space. And again, that building is made up of 3 distinct sections. The original 1966 building, an addition that was put on the south end of the building in 1973, I think, and then the addition on the back that was put on in 2000. As the map shows here,
right,
they're predominantly going to be occupying the 2000 section of the building, which is still in pretty fair condition.
In fair condition. And what other options did the committee look at? Did they look at renting places? Did the committee look at portables until you found a proper place to build?
So the committee did all that work. Now, remember, the initial charge of the committee is what to do with the DVS property.
Okay, that's fair.
The SAU was not. It was initially, what are we doing with this unoccupied facility? We looked into selling. We looked into, which we then had to parcel out the land. We looked into the value of it, which we all agreed on the committee that it had to be a large number in order to take that money, right? And then you really tried to, at the end, as we worked as a committee, we came to the conclusion that removing the failing SAU current one is better to get off the books and move into this location, and then from there you're going to save the taxpayer dollar in the long run.
And in doing that, understandably, the committee was formed to look at what to do with the empty Derry Village, but the committee didn't come up with anything with alternatives or other plans because that wasn't their functional role of that committee.
No, we did. We explored a lot of those options. We talked about the police department. I see Aaron in there. We talked about the police department. We talked about whether we combine and make a community set of offices, and as we continue to work through the time and effort and the required things necessary, the best thing that we kept coming back to was the relocation of the SAU offices here to get that property off the books, rather than putting money into a building that we know needs work when this is costing us roughly, I'll just use lower number, $100,000 a year to keep unoccupied.
Which is also a building that is the most decrepit of all the schools, which is going to cost money in the end when walls and everything start. When all the building, just because you're in section 1, the 2 wings could have problems and could start falling apart, and things will need to be replaced because now it's an occupied building.
Possibly. We also got estimates for tearing it down, and tearing it down I mean, it
No,
was
we
over
know
$1 million,
that
yeah.
from when we studied the
Right,
schools. We
yeah.
were all well aware about
Right.
tearing down the school and how much that would cost. We also, did you explore subdividing the land?
Yep.
And how did that conversation go? It's over 40 acres.
Yeah, the way the committee leaned, it wasn't the value was not going to equate to a long-term value for the Derry School District. So we wanted to make the recommendation to retain that property and continue to remove failing properties from the books, the SAU that we're in.
All right. I'm not comfortable with this at all, just my personal opinion. I've been really involved in this from beginning to end, from over 8 years ago. I think there's other options, and I think there's a professional look, too. I think that there are other opportunities in Derry to focus on for your building. Just my personal opinion. I'm a little disappointed that other options weren't deeply explored, but it wasn't the function of that committee. To me, that means this is a half report because it wasn't fully reviewed. But that's just my opinion. But thank you for your time.
Good evening, Brian Chiricello, 6 Rollins Street. I'm glad I showed up because when I read the agenda and it mentioned contingency money, I thought it was the contingency money that was part of the $24 million bond. And I'm hearing that it's not. I would probably more categorize it as more like unreserved fund balance that the school has not used, that was put aside.
It's called contingency fund in the state law.
Okay, so that's where my confusion was. I thought you were taking money from the $24 million bond because 2 years ago I came to the deliberative session saying that contingency fund was way too high. And at that time, I was promised that any extra money in that contingency lines of that $24 million bond would go, if there was any extra money, it would go to paying towards the bond. But coming here to hear exactly where that's coming from, that's not the point. So, so as being a townie, I've been here for many years. 2 years ago, and I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody in particular. 2 years ago, the proposal was to close 2 elementary schools and build a new elementary school, hoping to get state funding, which would pay 60% for a new school. The 2 elementary schools that would get closed down would be then sold off, I guess, and the taxpayers would actually see a savings. The following year, when the first bond issue came out and got defeated, didn't happen, the second go-around actually, South Range School actually came up and got 10 million of that 24 million. So that neighborhood was extremely happy because they're going to get $10 million pumped into that school. So now we have Derry Village, which we were told as a school that was deteriorating. You didn't want the kids to go in there. It was unsafe. And so now, we get this proposal as it's going to stay there. So the taxpayers got nothing out of this deal, nothing. You're taking $400,000, even though there's no tax impact. It is taxpayer money. You're spending it on there. And I agree with Tracy Zisk that just because you're using part of that building, the other parts, they're all connected. The pipes are connected, the water pipes are connected. So don't tell me it's going to be just $400,000. It's not going to be. It's going to be more money. So think about it. You want to pump $400,000 into a school that you guys closed down because it was unsafe, and I personally thought that you would actually sell that off, okay? You don't have to tear it down. You don't have to put any more money in it. Sell it. Some developer would pick it up and take it, and then that would take it off the books. Now, that also gives you a challenge with the SAU building, but I agree, commercial real estate's been taking a hit lately, so there are other options for, you can rent other commercial space. I don't think it's a wise decision because I think it's going to be a money pit. We're going to sink more and more money into this. It's not just going to be the $400,000. I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but that's how I see it from my perspective. I think the taxpayers, unfortunately, we don't get a savings, so that's all I have to say.
Well, good evening. Richard Tripp, 44 Wyndham Road. I've got one question. I don't know whether you covered it in your presentation. I might not have been paying as close attention as I should have been. But what are the operating costs for the SAU currently?
Ooh, I did not talk about that. Do you know that off the top of your head?
I don't.
Don't know that.
We don't know. Well, I'm sure it's not zero.
That's correct.
You know, but I suspect that should you invest the money into renovating Derry Village School, then you would have operating costs there. But I would believe that you'd cease to have operating costs at the SAU building. So there would be some savings there. So it seems like, you know, you might have missed, you know, one number, but I'm sure there's going to be operating costs in what are we going to call this? At DVS?
Thought about it. I don't.
Oh.
Well, the current SAU building was once also the Derry Village School, so I would assume we're kind of repeating the past.
Oh, well then we'll call it the SAU. That's good. But, you know, like I said, there's a little bit of savings there. I'm sure it's not free to operate the SAU. And, you know, I've heard years and years that the SAU is becoming an issue, you know, because the maintenance costs are increasing or whatever. So anyhow, I'm sorry you couldn't answer my question.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Carden, 2 Cunningham Drive. I was a member of the Derry Village Committee, but I am here to speak as a resident. I have followed the the facilities problem, I'll call it, for several years. I spoke at a number of school board meetings about it, and I'm glad that we're finally getting a lot of the schools fixed, but we have now the last 2 pieces of the puzzle that we have to address, and that would be Derry Village and the SAU. I did go through both the buildings. I thought the SAU was in worse shape than I thought it was going to be, and I thought the Derry Village was in better shape than I thought it was going to be. But certainly the SAU that has the 2 portables in back that are offices for the administrators, I think their usefulness is gone, and it's time to really do something about that. One of my original thoughts was to have commercial there, but I just don't think that would be practical right now. I think in order to do that, you'll have to subdivide the property there from Derry Village and West Running Brook. And I think what's going to happen if a developer comes in is going to put more apartments in. And right now, between the Sky development, between Dr. Butterfield's development, and I don't know what's going on with the Watts Junkyard development, but there's probably about 300 units that are going to be built there, which is going to put a lot of pressure on the traffic in that area and infrastructure. So I think for the point in time that we are at right here, I think this makes perfect sense. We get rid of get rid of the SAU, taking that money, you were using that to renovate the Derry Village School. And, we can, obviously from, the figures that Mike put up there, we're going to be saving money doing both. And to me, it makes sense. And, my only other thought was that, if this, passes the bond, that we should sit down and come up with, a second phase on what we're going to do with the rest of the school. I think this is probably the most important part. But I think it's really for, again, for the time and place that we're at right now, I think this makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Good evening. Ben Cohn, 51 Lane Road. I was also part of the DVS committee, and my children attended DVS, so I've actually spent a lot of time thinking what to do with this building, what should be done with this. And a couple of main points that I've really stuck to is one, Beverly Donovan, who is the town economic developer. She made it very clear that if you sell this land, you're never getting it back. It's not coming back, so you're not going to ever have any options in the future. 300 new apartments going in right in the neighborhood. If we do need a school in 10 years, where are we going to put it? What land do we have? We'd have to purchase land at a premium to get it back. Right now, it's not a cost. So, not to put the SAU as a placeholder, but the SAU allows us to continue to have options in the future. If we get rid of this land, yeah, we adjust the budget, save everybody 10 cents on their tax bill next year, and we never get it back. And if 5-10 years down the road, we find that we need another school, because South Range, which was actually the most decrepit in all those reports, something happens there, whatever reasons, South Range isn't going to last forever, and you can't build a new school at South Range's property. So this option mostly preserves future options. That's a big point to be made here. And then another big point, a lot of people threw out $30 million to renovate it. $30 million was to bring it to current education standards. We don't need current education standards for the SAU adults. They don't need a lot. Unfortunately, with the building they are right now, this would be a major upgrade on what their space looks like and just not doing much to it at all. So I think that's like the SAU building is in really bad shape. I mean, some of the offices are in buildings that I went to third grade in. Those offices are in buildings that were craned into there, 20 years ago, that were supposed to last 10, 15 years in the 90s. So I believe this preserves options moving forward, and you get the SAU off the books, which is a huge thing, and there's no reason to preserve the SAU land for any reason. And then another point on, a lot of people brought up renting space. I'll bring up that Londonderry has been renting their SAU offices for years, and they've been trying for years to get taxpayer approval to move it into a building or build a building, and they haven't been able to get them to even agree to renovate space in one of their schools in order to get back into a building. So they're stuck just renting indefinitely at the moment. Thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing anyone else coming up. Oh.
How you doing? Jeff LaJoy, 12 Meadowbrook Road. Just a couple questions. So I am concerned as to how long this has been in the works. So Derry Village was paved. Was that part of this decision that we are dealing with right now? I mean, how long has this been in the works? Yeah, didn't we pave Derry Village? Yeah. What was the reason for paving it? If it was a decrepit building, we're not going to put students in there anymore. Why would you pave it?
2 years ago, the plan was to close both Derry Village and South Range and build a new school. So this decision was made via the Derry Village Committee.
But you paved it.
It had to be paved. Would we pave it
For closing? For demolition?
in advance
Would
of?
you pave it for ripping it down? That was weighed pretty heavily to shut this school down. That's an issue. You know, why would you spend that money?
Jeff, I don't, it wasn't paved recently. I don't, in my memory, I can't.
Several years.
I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. It wasn't paved recently. I'm guessing, and I don't know, but I'm sure somebody can get the information for you, 6, maybe 7 years ago. And it was, honestly, it was paved because we were having a hard time making it safe to get cars and buses in and out of there for children. So they changed the way, they tried to change some of the loop in the front of the school and to make more space for cars and buses to come up the ramp. Plus, there was also a pipe burst, so they had to fix the road. That's
the
what I
whole
remember, but
driveway.
I don't remember it all.
That's a long driveway to be fixing a burst, so that would just be a patch, right? You'd cut that area out, dig it out, fix the pipe, repack, and then repatch. That's what you would do with the broken pipe. So it's just kind of a, go ahead.
We did paving for Derry Village, South Range, and West Runnybrook, and they were all done within the years of 2020 and 2021.
Correct, yes, yeah. I knew that we were in talks with this around that time, though. This was a concern back then. Right in 2019 was when we started talking about putting in a new school. So to me, it just seems like, I'm not making accusations, but it just seems kind of suspect for suspicion why you would do those things, and then now it's almost like we wanted to hang on to the property, we had future plans. That's kind of what it looks like to me.
Sorry.
Yeah, he just needs you to.
Yeah, sorry about that. So it just, if we were talking about removing schools and making a new school, way back then, this is during COVID era, right? Why would we pave it, So how much square footage is this area right here? What's the square foot?
I don't know.
You guys don't know? What's the square footage of the SAU right now?
Pull up the,
Why aren't we renting this now?
Renting what?
Derry Village.
To whom?
Who are you going to rent it to later?
Because it's not ready for rental.
Okay. How long has the SAU been falling apart?
Mike Flynn went through the earlier part of the presentation. In 2022, the Jobin report said $576,000. When we put the bond up 2 years ago, that was defeated. That was one of the things that came out. So we weren't going to invest in a Derry Village, obviously, because that was closing, and we weren't going to invest in the SAU. So when the town defeated the first bond back in 2024, and they defeated the school, we had to come back to the drawing board and say, these numbers don't work, right? The feedback says overwhelmingly no school, and the warrant article for the bond is too high. There was no money, given the fact that the voters chose to keep South Range open. We had to put $10 million into South Range.
Right.
So there's no money to fix the SAU. So now we're looking at about $1 million that needs to go into the SAU. And we've said it a couple times, but I want to remind everybody, the word renovate, remodel, none of that's happening anywhere in any of the buildings. This is literally structural, systems, facades, roofs. Keep the outside out, the inside in, and keep the building up. This is what we're talking about in all of these buildings. So we got to be real careful about saying renovate, remodel. There's no
yes.
skylights, there's no natural lights, we're not putting garage doors up in these buildings. This is literally structural and system to keep the building and the integrity of the buildings. So now we're looking at about $1 million for the SAU. Kind of like what we're doing at South Range. $10 million, you're really not even going to see that anything's been done at the building. Unless you go up and you see a new roof.
That's the
bricks
roof.
aren't.
Yeah, that's a roof.
You know what I mean? The bricks aren't falling off the front anymore.
From what I understand, this also needed a roof?
Yeah.
Derry?
Yeah.
Village?
Oh, yeah.
So
And so does the SAU building. The SAU building needs a roof too.
it's not a flat roof, though. It's totally different.
Yeah, but
So the cost is quite different compared to a flat roof compared to a pitched roof is quite different.
Yeah.
A flat roof is much more expensive.
yeah, and also putting the SAU on stilts to redo the foundation when there's leaks, that's going to be a significant thing that wasn't even in the Jobin report that's happened in the last 3 years.
So did they
it-
miss that
every
in the
time
Jobin
it-
report?
It's changed. Every time it rains now, our
So in 3
basement
years?
gets flooded and pumped
In
out.
3 years?
I wasn't here. I've been here since July 1st, so.
Yeah, a lot happens in 3 years
Yeah.
if you're not putting in money.
Not that much.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I really don't agree. So we don't have a square footage of what this is. I guess my concern is a larger space is a larger operating cost. It leaves room for expansion. You guys, not shooting anybody down, but enrollment's way down. We know that, everybody, it's like 14% across the state. We're actually shrinking a little bit. I know we have apartments going in here and there, but nobody's having kids, minus you guys.
There's a room full of kids.
I mean, really stuff that we gotta be fiscally responsible for. We should really be looking at how do we make this more efficient, not, I want a new place. I understand you want a new area.
This
I
is
get it. It
efficient,
looks-
Jeff. This is efficient. It's divesting an old, dated property that needs a significant investment, getting that off the books. If
Why-
Amazon or New Balance came along and wanted to offer us $10 million for this property, the conversation would have been wildly different.
Yeah, we don't
This
want New
conversation
Balance.
today would have been like, we're selling the property, right?
New Balance moved to Londonderry. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I know the HR.
You understand what I'm
manager.
saying?
I guess my concern is this looks big. It's a big area. For how many people are on the SAU?
37.
37? Mm-hmm. So that's a good number. It's a good, you get quite a few people. I'm on the fence. All right? Okay. I do think Derry Village is gonna cost us more money. More money to operate. All right, that's all I got.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, my God.
Catherine DeLay, 39 South Main Street. Just want to say I appreciate the work that this committee has done. I definitely appreciate the fact that we're thinking about bringing life back to that property. I think that property is very valuable to us as a community. I think it's important to condense our properties and reinvest here, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us, and I think this is a great direction for us, so thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I say something before we close this off?
Sure you can.
This is a good time to remind everybody that when we have these committees, we ask for everybody. It goes out for a week, 2 weeks, community-wide, who wants to be involved, who wants to have a say, who wants to have input, who wants to bring ideas. We had 3 people, right? So it's, and I'm going to be a little frustrated here, but we have 3 people, and then everybody's got an answer as to how things should be addressed, but no one wants to come and step up to the plate when it comes time for these committees, invest their time, bring ideas. 3 people, all of which are in this room tonight, come and say, hey, this is what I think, here's my thoughts. So obviously the feedback is appreciated and everybody takes this into consideration, but the time to really think about these things and to talk through these things is during those committees. So for future, if people want to get involved or have ideas as to what we can do with properties or buildings, or how do we fix things, or how do we move things forward so we don't do the same thing over and over again that we've done for 15 or 20 years, that's the time to get involved and bring your expertise and bring your life experience and bring things to the table. So thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right, if we have no more speakers from the public, I will take a motion to close the public hearing. First by Jen. Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Let's get the kids up.
Yep, so
Let's
I
get
was
them
going to
going.
say thank you to everyone for coming on, participating tonight. The board will be discussing this proposal and voting on it later in the meeting. So now, thank you to our guests for bearing with us
Great job,
through that
kids.
hearing. Good job, everybody. So I will turn it over to Mike to introduce our friends from the
Yeah.
Area Early Education Programs.
They're out
I
there.
think they're working their way in.
Well-
Christina, do you want to?
They need a heads up.
Poor kids. They're probably like, I'm done.
They were so good out there. They were really behaving.
I'm Chime.
Nope, that is not me. I get one? All right, sweet. Awesome, sweet.
Oh.
Right, it's not me.
He's gonna tell his boss. I can't want two
I know.
Yeah. All right, now you go.
No, because I'm right. Hi, Moshe. Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Okay.
Probably won't need them.
There they are.
I know, right?
No one's having kids.
Yeah, we're facing the school. Eyes this way.
Well, do we want to keep it on for when they sing?
We're gonna move forward this way.
Jingle bells.
Leave it on. Microphone. We're gonna stand in front. I'm sure. Take You're gonna be behind us.
Repeat after me. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing. A sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. All together now, dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm back in the holiday spirit now.
All right, let's go out. You guys did a great job, and you were so patient.
Parents, thank you for your patience this evening. Waiting for us. You are all so patient.
So great.
That was a beautiful performance.
Great work.
All right, we will take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back in 5.
All right, let's follow. No, you're going to stay. Mayhem. I'm going to give you the
All right, welcome back, everybody. The next item is delegations and individuals. At this time, residents of Derry, parents of currently enrolled Derry students, and employees of the district may address the school board on matters that pertain to school and district business for a period of time not to exceed 3 minutes per person. As a reminder, questions cannot be answered in real time. If you would like to speak, please come up to the microphone at this time and state your name and address for the record. All right. Oh. Richard can't pass up an opportunity.
You don't have to, Richard. We did talk to you.
Well, I have something new,
Oh, okay.
something different. You know. Anyhow, Richard Tripp, 44 Wyndham Road. I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but Congressman Pappas has someone come to visit Derry every week. And Representative Jody Nelson and I came to visit to see what was going on and ask some questions. Turns out that Congressman Pappas doesn't really come. He sends one of his minions. And the minions isn't here to answer questions, which is kind of odd, but basically what they do is they give you a piece of paper and you can fill out what you're concerned about and give it back to her. And that goes back to other minions who analyze it and try to come up with an answer to your concerns. Anyhow, Jody and I, afterwards we went out and had coffee, and she had some interesting things to talk about, because she's on, I was going to look and find out what committee she's on, but I got distracted, you know. But I'm definitely not on the committee she's on. I'm on Judiciary. But anyhow, we were there to talk to someone about why the federal mandated things like the IDEA Act are so seriously underfunded. And so one of the things I did go when I went back home is I looked to see how much underfunding it is. And I was able to find something from 2020, and the full funding estimate for IDEA is like $36 trillion. But it's actually only funded for like $12 trillion, which means it's underfunded by $23 trillion. You know, but then I went online for another place, and I found that this year, IDEA funding for New Hampshire is $148 million, of which it's supposed to be funded at, but it's actually only funded for $47 million. Derry itself is supposed to get an appropriation of $4.7 million, but it actually only gets like $1.5 million. You know, so there's like a 68% underfunding for the IDEA Act. The last thing I want to talk about is there's a bill in Congress, H.R. 2598, that is to amend Part B of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act to provide full federal funding. Both of our congresspeople, I don't want to say men, that would probably upset somebody, are co-sponsors on this bill. I would suggest, since the school is always after the state representatives to increase the school's revenue, that you could possibly help yourselves by pushing this at some of the PTA meetings to have the parents contact the congressman and the senators to see what you can do to pass this bill so that a federal mandate is adequately funded instead of just a requirement for the schools to spend money they don't have. Thank you.
All right, not seeing anyone else come to the microphone, so we will move on with the meeting. However, the public comment period will remain open until 7:43 p.m. If you wish to speak prior to that time, approach the microphone and I will recognize you at the next break in the agenda. Our next item is student member updates. Anthony is absent tonight, so no Pinkerton update, so we'll go to Moshe and his next charter school update.
Good evening. The expansion is going pretty smoothly. We're expecting to open mid-January. We'll have the official opening release date this week. Students also went to a Parkland Medical Expo on November 12th to explore different medical careers. We also toured MCC on November 17th. Today, students in the drama class also went to the Ring of Fire play and Lowell. And we have our annual ice skating and bowling December trip on the 19th this month.
Sweet. Great job.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the update. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next item will be deliberations, for which we have 2 items to consider tonight. The first item will be the topic discussed during tonight's public hearing, the use of contingency fund for the relocation of the district offices to the Derry Village School. So now that we've heard from the community, we can have a discussion about this from the board. So I would open it up to everyone to give their thoughts on this issue.
Don't everyone all yell at once. So I will say that I was not 100% sold on this until recently. I'm probably still at 90 to 95% sold on this, just because I understand where people are coming from with what we were told years ago in regards to the building and about DVS and it was South Range both being uninhabitable, that any stuff we were doing on top of it was going to be, putting lipstick on a pig. But I do understand that there is a difference between putting kids into the building and putting adults into the building and the different sections. Once that map that was presented, I got handed that the other day to see how it was going to be sectioned off, to see the work that was going to be done to it, the parts that are going to be ignored, the ones that had the most work that needed to be done to it. There are so many pieces to this puzzle. And I think because of the SAU being in the condition that it is, and this is the best course of action that we have at this time. I don't want to put money into a building that is obviously sinking into the ground. And I think that we all need to understand, I think a lot of people look at this money going into SAU as it's not funding education. People are saying this money should only be going to the kids. It should only be going into the buildings that the kids are in. But the SAU is part of our system. It is the running of the ship. It is just as important as the ship itself. So we can't ignore the people who are steering the ship. So after having my questions answered, which Mike basically answered all of them in the presentation, I am on board with this. I think the only thing that we need to consider is what is our plan B if this does not pass? When this goes up to a vote to sell the SAU building, what happens if the townspeople come out and say, we don't want to sell the SAU as their voice of protest about us moving the SAU into Derry Village? That's the only question I have at this point that doesn't have an answer.
Well, the board has voted to move the SAU offices to Derry Village. That
Right.
is, within our purview. The item that we're discussing tonight is how it's going to be funded. So, the idea is that we will take it out of the contingency fund to pay for it. If it wasn't the contingency fund, we could wait and see what we have for year-end funds at the end. That's the item that we're discussing today.
I know, but it's all part of the big picture.
So if, March rolls around and the move to Derry Village is well underway, I don't know what the interest would be from anyone in holding on to the empty SAU building
We
at that point.
do know that a lot of people in town like to hold on to the old buildings that we have.
Well, that is the job of this board, to convince the people of Derry that selling the SAU building is the right thing to do.
And we had this conversation, Jenna, about, because right now we have an unoccupied school, right?
Yep.
So if the voters decide to vote no on allowing the board to pursue the avenue of the sale, then the SAU building will become the unoccupied building on the books, right? And those are lower costs. Those are lower recurring costs until we decide, if the voters say no, what the next move is. Yeah.
I'll say a few things. If money were no object, which of course it is always an object when it comes to public education, it would make the most long-term sense to build a brand new building, $5 to $8 million to build a bunch of offices. So I think we can all agree that given the current economic pressures and the fact that we have so many other priorities, that is not happening. We have surplus property right now. We have to remember that, is Derry Village in poor condition? Yes, but that's not why it closed. It closed because of enrollment. It closed because we didn't need the space anymore. If we had another 600 or 700 students going through our schools right now, we would still be open. We never even would have started talking about this, several years ago, in the discussion to close the school in the first place. So, that is the key reason why Derry Village is closed, is because of enrollment. So now we have this additional property. And I think that it makes a lot more sense to take the SAU staff, move them into the property that we already own. And the 2000 addition at Derry Village is still in very good condition. That building is made up of 3 very distinct sections. The original 1966 building, I think it was 1973 or 1974 addition down at the south end, and then the 2000 addition in the back, which is still in pretty good condition. And I think we can all agree it's certainly in better condition than the current SAU building. So, I think to keep that large piece of property that, is significant to the town. Towns need open space, they need recreational space. In addition to hosting the Derry Village School building, that property also hosts 2 baseball fields and a softball field that are heavily utilized by the town's recreation programs. And, I don't think that it makes sense to sell off that large piece of property, which one of our speakers, mentioned that you're never going to find another piece of property like that at that location in this town if you were ever to need it again.
I'll echo a lot of what you said, Michael. I think that I appreciate everybody that came out tonight to have their voice heard. I very much appreciate the work of the committee that stepped up to offer their time and energy and effort to put forth this recommendation. I agree a lot with what Ben said earlier during the public hearing, which is that this land remains very, very valuable to the town. If we were to sell it, I just really don't think the juice is worth the squeeze there. We're not going to get the money back for that and what it's worth in the longer run. The SAU office remains also needing a lot of work. I think that one of the things that's very difficult when you sit on a board is that you have to make difficult decisions, and a lot of times all the options are not great. And so I believe this to be the best decision for the options that we currently have.
And I'd just like to add one thing to that, because I did sit on that board. The Derry Village School, that land is connected to West Runningbrook. So that's all one big running parcel, and I just want the taxpayers to understand that. So that's another reason we came to all the conclusions we came to.
And the SAU is not part of that, right? It's on its own property.
Correct.
2 acres, I believe.
I did also want to address something that Tom, an issue that Tom had brought up that was one of my issues as well, is he was talking about that, I think he was talking about that piece of land, SAU, and what happens if it gets sold and it's a bunch of more apartments that go into there. But what Mr. Flynn had said to me, Mike Flynn, I don't know how to call you. And
They all know who it is now.
like a
It's fine.
teacher.
We got that.
So well, we call you Super Mike because
That's
I know she did. That was a week. Sorry. Anyway, what Tom had said and what you had said to me was that the school board gets to choose who the buyers are. So hopefully we get more than one person that comes to put in for that land, and then the school board gets to choose who the buyers are.
Yeah, it's accurate. So the way you can put it out as an RFP, and then the board gets to review the packets and really choose who the bid goes out to. That was the recommendation from our attorneys, to do a bid process rather than a for sale process. So that allows that opportunity to happen. Go ahead, Jamie. You go first.
No, I just wanted to say, like, when this first was presented to us, and I asked you that question about if we would have a say or not as to what the use would be if we were to sell the SAU land. And when you told me that we would have a say as to who we would sell it to, that just made me feel a little bit better about the decision. Just because, I don't know, just having a say in, like, what happens next, I feel like is kind of important.
Sure. And there is the other part of the DVS committee we had to get legal counsel on was the right of first refusal. So since it was a school, how many years ago? I want to say 100.
Until 1966.
Thank you. Once the board does their process and they either come to an agreement with a buyer or not, because it was a school, through our legal services, it's put out to any charter school, and they can match the bid. So they can't underbid it; they can only match the price, and if they wanted to take it at that point. But I don't think anyone is going to match the amount of work that needs to go into that. It's really going to be a developer that wants to do something pretty big with it. I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for showing up tonight, specifically the members. Ben, Aaron, Tom, Elizabeth. You guys spent some time in there. We grinded through 5 quick weeks of some tough work and some great discussion. And to the board members, Karen, Jason, and Brenda, thanks for all that. It was a goal of you guys that set in August, and I don't want to revert back to what the objectives of this board is, but the goal is to set goals and meet them. And this feels like we're checking a box here and doing some due diligence. And I'll continue to emphasize the fact that we're going to eventually be removing a failing property from the books. That's coming off the books. So the discussion of what do we do next, or what do we fix next, or that's going away, and we can deal with all those discussions now with the adults in a different location. So, thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that and say thank you to everybody that participated on the committee and went through the process of making this decision. I think it was very important to us as a board to have an open and transparent, review of this property and bring the community in to discuss, what we're going to do with it, because this, doesn't just mean a lot to the school district, it means a lot to the community. And, to say a couple more things, about the building, it's funny, this is actually similar to a situation in Salem about 10 years ago. They closed a school in 2015, the Hague School. And the district held on to it. It had a baseball field next door, and they put a little bit of money into it, and it's now where they have their Salem preschool, the equivalent of the DEEP program. I know that's been one of the things that's been tossed around long term, for other portions of the building, is to move the DEEP program in there. The DEEP program, I think, currently occupies 5 classrooms at Hood. Mm-hmm. Just one of those wings of the 1966 building has 8 classrooms in it. And, the DEEP program is a revenue generator for the district. It's a tuition program. So, if that's a program that you can expand in another location, it's a program that brings in revenue for the district. If we have no other questions or comments, I will call for a vote. I will take a motion to approve the withdrawal of an amount not to exceed $400,000 from the contingency fund for expenses related to the relocation of the district offices to the Derry Village School.
So moved.
First by Jason, second by Brenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right.
Thank you,
We have-
everybody.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody, again, to everybody in the community, everybody on the board for all the work that went into this process, and we'll sure to continue to provide updates as this moves forward.
Absolutely.
The second item up for deliberation tonight is 4 policies up for their second readings. So, Mike, did you want to note anything here on these policies before I call for a vote?
I did not hear back from anyone, so it made me feel like we were all set. A lot of reaffirming here and minor changes. So moving forward as presented last meeting.
All right. If no one has any questions, I will take a motion to adopt policies BAAA, DAIC, and JLID as presented.
Second.
First by Brenda, second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next item's administration reports. Jane, you're up with your business administrator's update.
Okay, I would like to talk for a minute about the free and reduced program and the numbers that we're at right now compared to October. Christina Lebelzik, our director, gave me the numbers today. We had an additional 13 students approved for free meals since October. And we had 2 at Ernest P. Barker, 4 at Hood, and 3 at Grinnell, and 1 at South Range, and 3 at West Running Brook. For reduced meals, we have an additional net 2 students who were approved for reduced. We actually at East Derry had 2 students, 2 less than the prior month. 1 more at Barca, 1 less at Hood, no change at Grinnell, no change at South, and 4 additional students approved for reduced meals at West Running Brook. So we have a total of 617 students who are approved for either free or reduced in the district.
Jane, when you say that they're less than, are they coming off the books? Like, is it evaluated throughout the year, or just 2 less that applied this year than last year?
It's 2 less that are on our books from 1 month, from last month, from October until now.
It's evaluated all year.
It's evaluated all as, I thought once you applied, you were good for the year.
You are, but some of the people may have moved. We have people who came off in October,
Okay,
from
gotcha.
October until,
Income status can change.
yeah. So from the October meeting, if you remember, October was when they had to reapply for free and reduced. And so some of the people may have not have reapplied or may not have qualified. Yep. But of the 617, 256 of those families are direct certified. So they're either coming to us from the SNAP program through the state. And 89 of those who are approved are categorical eligibility, and 272 of them are based on income. So Christina tracks this every month. She does a report for me so we can kind of track where people are. So we want to encourage people. Obviously, you can see the fluctuation. So if 15 more students from October till now have been approved. So we want to continue to encourage our families to apply throughout the year, and maybe their status has changed. Maybe you were denied in October, but your income has changed now for the month of December. So please feel free, if your status has changed, to reach out to Christina, and she'll help you through the application. I know recently she's helped some of these families get approved. They didn't realize that if additional family members were living in their home, that changes your qualifications. So she's been able to help a lot of our families. Secondly, I just wanted to thank the family of Ernie Barca, who was the namesake of our Ernest P. Barca Elementary School. They have graciously donated $1,000 a year to Barca they give a wide, there's no restriction on the money, so the school always purchases something for the students, whether it's a piece of equipment or books or things like that. So they've been very generously donating $1,000 for many, many years, so we just wanted to thank them for their donation. I know that Dave Brown is sending them a thank you letter, as well as Mike also sent them a thank you letter, but we just want to recognize them. And Wednesday, I went to the New Hampshire School Administrators Association workshop on special education for special ed directors and business administrators. So we had a whole day of learning about Richard Tripp's favorite topic, IDEA funding and special education funding. So I think it was beneficial for both myself and Laura, and surrounded in a room of colleagues who are all trying to navigate changes in funding for those programs. So that was it. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jane. Mike, you're next up with your superintendent's update.
Briefly, you received a one-pager on Friday in regards to some budgeting updates that we're going to be presenting to the Fiscal Advisor Committee in a couple days. There's already been changes to that document, but we wanted it in your packet for review. More specifically, we're going to present a little bit more detail on Thursday to the whole group. I don't want to do it twice. I don't think it's the right thing to do. But for the board, what Jane and I really did over those couple weeks was spend some time evaluating, and this is the challenge of being new to the district, so I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to walk everyone through. When you don't live multiple cycles, I'm not currently living in a budget that I created, so trying to see what's working well, what's not working well, or things along those lines can be difficult. But Jane's been kind enough to sit there and continue to answer my questions hour after hour. And we really took a dive into the salaries and benefits line and seeing if we can create some savings there. Hiring practices can change. We did a good job looking at some of the things that we were going to try and implement, and I said it to you last meeting, can't do it all once in 1 year. So as of today, and this may change prior to Thursday, we were previously up, this is the easy way to say, because I've been trained here, we were up over about $450,000 over default at the time that we presented, and now we are $337,000 under default. So obviously one of the biggest swings was Pinkerton, but that lowers your default, right? It's a net zero because whatever that comes down, comes down. But through the salary and benefits analysis and some of the other things that we were able to target, we were able to see some reduced costs. So what we'll be presenting to fiscal is about $337,000 under, which is almost probably about a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 swing from where we were last time. I can sit here and say we can probably get more granular, but I also don't feel comfortable as we started diving into some of those lines. It's not fair for me to start reducing those when this time next year it would have been a poor move. So I thought this was safe, and as Jane, I always say, protects the house. I think this does a great job, but also showing that taxpayer that we want to become more predictable year over year. That's the goal, so that we're not having spikes. And we're in a spike year, and you're going to see that on Thursday, whether it's the teacher's contract to the bond to some of those things. We want to just try and create a predictability so that we're not coming to these meetings and people are coming up saying, where'd that come from? Why now? Why all of a sudden? We're going to try and create a roadmap over the next couple of years here. That's my goal. So that's the brief overview. Jamie? No. All right, you guys can certainly email me questions before. This got sent out to fiscal as well by Kathleen. Okay, another kind of an important update. Kathleen and I uncovered this on Monday, I think it was. January 2026, January 2027, and January 2028, there are 5 Saturdays in January. Not sure if you're aware or if it impacts you in your life, but it impacts us when it comes to deliberative. And with our new legal firm, they cover 15 districts on the 31st. So our firm asked us to move our date so that we could have appropriate coverage to the actual first Saturday in February. So when we had talked about this months ago, it was January 31st, but we're going to move the deliberative session to February 7th. I have to say thank you to Tina, the town clerk. We met with her. That was a huge, I say change because she has some requirements that she has to meet in regards to absentee balloting, but she was phenomenal. She said she could make it work, and now we'll be prepared for the next 3 years. So we'll be posting that everywhere as it comes up. Nothing else needs to change, right? When nothing was officially posted yet, we'd only discussed it, but just so that we can say it's going to be on February 7th. And then really what I wanted to close on, I mean, I know we've said it, but those kids melt your heart, right? And that's why we're here. And it sounds crazy when we say we're today. If you didn't know, does anyone know what day school today was? What number by chance?
67.
It was. You nailed it. It was 67. So when we were walking around all day, that's what you were seeing in the schools.
God bless all of the teachers today.
It was awesome. I mean, who would have thought that turned into a thing? But we're a third of the way through school, a third of the way, which is really bananas to think about. But when you see what they're doing or how they're doing things, and that's the real purpose of bringing the kids. All these decisions, we really want to start remembering that we're bringing it back to the kids. And we have 9 days till break. It is the most chaotic 9 days that you could ever be a part of in a profession. I stand by that. When you talk about parties to just the energy of what's happening or what's coming. So just an absolute shout out to the teachers for what they hold it together for 9 days. It's kind of a big deal what they do, and everyone gets to go away and get refreshed and come back for the next third of the year. But thank you to them. Thank you to everyone here as we try and navigate these next couple months. But it's just fun to be in the buildings the next couple weeks, but it's also the most exhausting for our teachers. So hang in there. We'll get there, and then we'll be all right. And then one more thing, we had our first weather day, I guess I'll call it here. You know, I always make a joke. I've never been more underqualified to watch weather in my life, but I have to do it. Thank you to the South Central superintendents. It's a new group for me, so they were good in regards to the communication on some of the things. You know, I only ran 8 buses in Hopkinton, and now I'm running 29. So to make sure that we're doing things right. The goal is to always take the safety of our students and staff as the priority. And really, if I can feel comfortable with the weather, my goal is to always make an evening call so that families can plan and prepare for the next day. Sometimes there'll be morning calls, and I'll communicate that as we work through it, but just wanted everyone kind of know where I stand as regards to safety and trying to make sure we're protecting our kids and our staff. So thanks to everyone, and I appreciate it. Thanks, Mike.
You need to step up your game, though, with
Yeah, I know.
competing with Timmy.
Listen, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I always did memes in Hopkinton. I didn't know if I was ready for those yet here, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, yeah.
I will never sing, so.
I would echo your thank you to the teachers. The last couple of weeks before Christmas are always, something else, and they continue to to work hard and try their best to educate kids who are have a foot out the door already. And I did want to talk a little bit about the update on the budget. I mean, it's nice to see that increase come down to 8.79%. It's still obviously much higher than we typically see, but I don't know how many times we've said it during this process. This was going to be a spike year with the obligations coming online. We're absorbing largest bond payment, the second year of the teacher's contract, all the typical things that grow from year to year, transportation costs. And, I think we can all agree that we needed to put that bond out last year. We needed to fix our schools, and, there's going to be a spike in the budget this year, but, things are getting done. And those are obligations that, we all agreed to at the polls last year. And I love hearing that, your plan moving forward, I hope you're here for a long time, is, to develop a consistency in budgeting where, we're not seeing things like, I think we were at 1.3 last year, and, this year we're going to be at 8.8. I think as you're here for many years, and, in this board, we can work together to put together budgets that are, seeing consistent increases over the long term.
It's a great point. Sorry, I'm going to echo because, averages can be challenging we talked about it this morning at leadership. Like if you average the last 5 years, you see an average of 3 to 4%. but that doesn't feel good when it's a down year and then a spike year, right? You want to level it off so that your fund balance is coming in at a percentage and that you're budgeting each year as a percentage. It makes everyone at least understand that it's not coming out of left field and that it's a more predictable for their own income, whether they're managing their household income, but more to show that we're being responsible with what we're doing year over year.
Yeah, I think I took a look at the numbers, and over the last 5 years, when you average it out, we average about a 4.5% increase, which is right about in line, with, the increase in costs, inflation, and all that. But that's not how it ends up working out. So I think if we can get to a point where we're actually seeing an increase year to year of, 4 to 5%, that's where we'd like to be.
Sure.
All right. Any more questions for Mike? All right, so next up will be committee reports. We've had 2 committees meet since the last board meeting, and we will start with an update from Jen in the Curriculum and Assessment Committee.
Thank you. The Curriculum Committee last met on Thursday, December 4th, at which time we had a special guest appearance by Mitch Edwards, the coordinator of student wellness. So thank you, Mitch, for joining us. Mitch walked us through a review of the K-8 wellness curriculum, which is really 3-pronged, so I'll walk through each one of those sections right now. The first section is the CARES instruction and reporting that's happening in the district. CARES is an acronym, which stands for cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility, empathy, and self-control. The district has invested in a research-aligned curriculum called Fly 5, and students K-4 receive 60 total minutes weekly of CARES instruction. I believe that happens over the course of 3 20-minute blocks. The second area is wellness instruction, which is really happening at grades 5 to 8. Teachers have developed competency level standards and instructions to complement the CARES programming that's happening at the elementary level, using the National Consensus for Health Education standards. Grades 5 to 8 also receive trimester-long health and wellness instruction that includes topics like personal health, safety, interpersonal communication skills, and social emotional well-being. And then finally, the third section is morning meeting, which is exactly what it sounds like, a set aside time that's carved out every morning at the beginning of each school day designed to build classroom community, assess students' readiness for learning, and really provide a launching pad for the start of the school day. Actually, just as a side note, it's probably one of the most talked about parts of the day for my kids when they come home from school, what happened in morning meeting. Many district teachers, Mitch explained, have gone to something called responsive classroom training, where basically teachers are learning skills to have an effective morning meeting. And again, this is designed to complement the CARES curriculum. So I want to thank Mitch again for being with us that day. We had a long discussion. There's much more to all of this than what I'm going over right now. This is a brief overview, but he engaged us in a great conversation that morning, walked us through all the curriculum, provided us a lot of information, so I appreciated that. And then at the very end of the meeting, we were well over time at this point, but Kim Conant, the director of curriculum, came through in a big way. Our committee had decided to cancel our December 18th meeting, and I had asked Kim if she would provide us some drafts for public-facing guides by the 18th, and Kim came through and had that done by the 4th. So I appreciate that, Kim. Really what we're doing, and this is a pivot here, because what's happened now is the committee has gone through all content areas K-8, and really pivoting into the new year, we're going to be working towards these goals that we talk a lot about up here. And part of that is going to be creating guides for families and community members to know what's being taught in the curriculum level throughout our schools. And Kim brought some draft work of that this past meeting. So right now, we don't have a next meeting on the books. The 18th meeting has been canceled. I believe there will be 2 January meetings, although I'm not sure when. Stay tuned on the SAU website to learn more. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jen. I'm happy to hear that we're working toward, materials to communicate curriculum standards to the public. Curriculum is an interesting topic for the board, for the most part. I mean, I would actually say for the all part. None of us up here are professional educators. And, we how we work with the SAU staff on curriculum topics is, something that isn't often always very clear to everyone. We want to be able to make sure that we, are able to, work with the SAU staff on, what is going on in terms of curriculum in our schools, that we are able to clearly communicate that to our families and members of the community, and that we're able to make sure that the, curriculum side of things in the district, has the investments that it needs to move curriculum forward. So it is nice to hear that the committee is working toward those goals.
I'm excited. We're going to start the year off on a great note. Yeah. Pivoting right at the end of the year. I like it.
All right. Next up, we have an update from Jason and the Facilities Committee.
Yeah, thank you. So the committee reviewed several key topics focusing on upcoming project planning, communication updates, and resource coordination. We met last Thursday as well. First topic was Lincoln Haney proposal, which is the structural engineering fun stuff with South Range. So still a lot of moving parts there. Plan for summer projects needs to be fully finalized. I think Mark and Jeremy and the administration in conjunction with the committee will start to kind of map things out to include the scope of the work involving more in contracting. We also discussed the Derry Village property, which Mike presented tonight. We discussed tonight. South Range status, led through by Mark Jobin and Jeremy. So additional information and updated estimates are coming from Honeywell, which are required. Honeywell will be invited to a future facilities meeting to support some of the decision-making long-term around how that project gets to Bright. And then really high level, and I really like this because it's kind of, when Mike talks about new norms and just kind of a different way of doing things and a new approach, thinking outside of the box. Again, high level stuff and, kind of early on, but discussion around the capital improvement plan. And I think what was interesting is Mike's identified a college that may be able to support their work for the, and potentially offering some resources in terms of helping to kind of write what a capital improvement plan looks like. So really kind of doing some of the administrative work in terms of just the bulk of the wording and kind of how things look, obviously supporting kind of what the administration's going to look at and finance and facilities and things, but just a different way to kind of approach things and get folks involved. And these would be college students working on, is it capstone projects for their masters or something, right? Yep. But just something to kind of get some kids involved, get fresh perspective in terms of how things are worded, how things are delivered, how things are communicated. So more to come on that, but definitely wanted to share because it's nice to see and refreshing to see, things being done a little bit differently and really kind of, scratching the surface in terms of what's possible. So that's all I have, and happy to answer any questions, but.
Any questions for Jason? Yeah, there's always a lot to discuss in those facilities committee meetings. A lot of work around South Range. Those are hefty projects. There's going to be a lot going on at that school next summer, and a lot of work to do.
Definitely.
Next up is FYIs and member updates. We've had a couple of task forces meet over the last couple of weeks. The Legislative Task Force met last week. If you're not familiar with it, it's a group organized by the Town Council. It's 3 of our board members, and they meet with 3 town councilors, 3 state representatives, and our state senator. So, Jason, did you have any quick update from that meeting?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having a sip of my drink here. I thought I was done.
I got a couple
Go
things.
Go ahead, Jenna.
Yeah,
Kick us off.
The 2 major things that we talked about were the LSRs, the bills that are being put up into Concord that are concern the school district. One of them was HB 765, which is the proposal of the consolidation of SAUs. They're looking to consolidate and make 10 SAUs for the state of New Hampshire, 12 total, 1 for Manchester as a city and 1 for Nashua, and then everyone else gets to consolidate by their district, or not by the district, by the county. Obviously, these are they still have to be voted on, and they still need to be fleshed out. That one, I guess, is kind of picking up steam, so to speak. And then the other one was HB 1331, which was the proposal of the town absorbing the SAU in our district. And that one did not sound like it had as much teeth as the other one, just because it is not apparently legal with the way that our town is run. There are a lot of caveats in there of things that would have to change if that one were to pass. So that one has doesn't have. We're not, I guess, don't want to say worried about it, but that one seems to not have as much standing as the consolidation of the SAU. Those were the two major things. Was there anything else, Jason, that you recall from?
No, I mean, as normal, I think every group that's represented goes around the table, and I mean, it's always great dialogue, and it's great to get together with other folks and kind of understand what the challenges are that they're having, the challenges that we're having, and kind of, I think just, if not for nothing else, it's just a matter of keeping dialogue open and being able to have discussion and conversation and hopefully start to really kind of, as we plan and look forward and look ahead, to really understand what the needs of the town are and the needs of the school district, and more importantly, the needs of the taxpayer, and how do we, collectively work together and keep topics on top of mind and keep hot buttons front and center, and just collectively kind of have dialogue and really, support and be, obviously we operate independently, but kind of how do we come together as one for the taxpayers, so.
Yeah, our
Always good
lines of communication are open, the bridges are built, and hopefully anything that comes up, we have it's easier to say, oh, I'll talk to so-and-so when you have a direct line of communication that you've already established through these task force, so.
Yep. Yeah, those meetings are very beneficial. We're all serving the town of Derry here, and I think it's very important that, we're able to have those conversations and make sure that we're coordinating our efforts. Jen, I believe the start time task force also met earlier today.
No, that's Thursday.
Oh,
Not true.
not today? When's the next
We
meeting of that?
meet on Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah,
Thursday.
we meet on Thursday, December 11th. That's right.
All right. A few other things, just recognition of our music teachers and students. They're in the thick of their busy winter concert season. West Runningbrook's 6th grade band and chorus had their concert last month. Our friends from Barca that were here a few weeks ago had their concert last week. The West Runningbrook 5th grade chorus had their concert last night. Congratulations to all of them on a job well done. Good luck to the music teachers and the students that have their concerts in the coming weeks. Did anyone else have any updates?
Negative.
All right, our upcoming meeting schedule. This is our last regular board meeting of 2025, if you can believe it. Our next two regular meetings will be Tuesday, January 13th. That meeting will start at 6:00 p.m. to accommodate the public hearing on the proposed budget and other warrants. So yes, you heard right. This is the last board meeting before we vote on the budget that will be moving forward. The next meeting after that will be Tuesday, January 27th at 6:30 p.m. Both of those meetings are here at the Municipal Center. We also have our final meeting of the Fiscal Advisory Committee coming up this Thursday night, 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at West Runningbrook. With that, we have no non-public business tonight, so if there is no other business, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Jason. Second by Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. On behalf of the Derry School Board, have a happy holiday season, and we'll see you in 2026.